And you're live.
Hey, everybody. Welcome back. We are live, Monday Night Live. Hi, Deborah Razo. How are you?
I'm great. Thank you. How are you?
I'm doing well. So, guys, it is absolutely my pleasure to have Deborah on with us. She is a business partner of mine. And if you guys follow the channel, you know that we invite partnerships on this channel on almost every video. And this is just living proof that we really do follow through with. This is just living proof that we really do follow through with. I got it. Problem. So Deborah is the founder of WREN, the Women Real Estate Investors Network, and she's got a really, really cool story, a very dynamic group of young ladies who are just kicking ass in real estate, and she's going to talk to us about it. We're going to get into all sorts of subjects, guys, and we would love to have your questions. I think I learn a lot from Deborah. I'm grateful to be her partner because she really brings it, and I just can't wait to let you guys experience some of what I get to work with every week. So, Deborah, so much for coming and sitting down with us. And we talk about all things real estate, and we're talking about new markets today and getting comfortable with that, and want to hear your story. So please introduce yourself a little bit, and then we'll just have a conversation for the next hour or so.
That sounds great. And thank you, Robbie, for having me on. The feeling is mutual. I love being partners with Robbie, and we have a really good clan that we're partners with right now. And I hesitate to say this, but I'm actually kind of proud of it. I think amongst us, we have over 50 years of real estate experience, at least.
That's a lot.
Yeah, that's a lot. But you know what? It's great because we're all mature in the business. And, I think together we all come up with ways to move forward in the business, which I think is the most important thing to do. But yeah, I think of all of us, I'm probably the youngest in the real estate business. I've been an entrepreneur for over 30 years, but I've only been in real estate for about 13. And it was really a life change that happened to me that really pushed me into real estate. And let me just back up a little bit about that, because I think there's a lot of people out there who've just gone through COVID, who, have experienced life changes. Let's just say it that way. For me, my life change was a car accident. I got into a car accident 13 years ago. I think for other people, sometimes it's the death of a loved one. Sometimes it's a divorce. We have things that shake us up in our lives.
Yeah.
And this really shook me up and left me physically really bad off. I actually, believe it or not, I broke my neck. And it was a really long healing journey. I was out of work for about a year, just healing and stuff. And, during a time like that, you have time to think, and my thoughts stemmed from frustration and fear to, am I really living my best life? I mean, just the realization of am I doing and living how I want to live and do? Because life is short. If there's any message I got, it was life is short. And I decided to change my life. I had a nice life. I didn't have a bad life, but it wasn't what I really wanted. I wanted freedoms. I wanted to travel the world. I wanted to show my kids that they could have anything that they imagine. I wanted to set this mark on the world and for me, experiences. And I wasn't doing that in my previous life. And I figured, how am I going to finance that? And I thought, passive income, right?
I can finance that lifestyle. That's awesome.
Yeah, how am I going to finance that? And I literally started Googling passive income. And a lot of things came up, royalties comes up, but real estate just kept coming up. Yeah. And, I had read the little purple book, Robert Kiyosaki, Rich Dad, Poor Dad, which, sends a lot of people on their journey. And I reread that book and I was like, I need to get me some of that. And after the doctor signed off on me, I realized that I was going to have to start education. I got to start learning about real estate and how it works and everything. But I also realized something else. And that is, I had been an entrepreneur for a long time and I had been selling I created my own job. I had been selling my time for money.
Right.
I was basically myself. When they say self-employed, yeah, that's what it means,
That's
right?
stuff entrepreneurs can often get themselves into, right? You create
Yes,
business and it just becomes your job, your life. And when
right,
you quit, it goes away. There is no passive. There's no such thing in passive income on a lot of different types of businesses that people go into.
right. And I realized that was going to take a mind shift.
Mm-hmm.
That was going to take really some growth for me. I was really blessed. My brother, who came out and really helped me during this time of healing, he had gone through a lot of Tony Robbins events. And he said, Deborah, if you want to change your mindset, you got to go see Tony Robbins. And I was like, okay, I trust you. That's what I'm going to go do. And I drank the Kool-Aid. I don't know how many people are out there like, it's a cult.
I walked on the hot coals.
Yeah. I mean, I drank the Kool-Aid. I enrolled in like every program. I actually now work for him. I'm a trainer of his, and I actually help other people make their transitions, which is really neat to be on the other side. But the truth of the matter is, I needed to shift to what's up here before I shifted my exterior. And I mean, Robert, you've been in business a long time. And, they say that 80% of, inside the psychology of a business is 80%. 20% is mechanics.
Yeah.
Like I can teach somebody how to fill out an offer, but when you say to somebody, no, you've got to make 10 offers a week.
Yeah.
Well, that's all up here, and that's like putting it out there and getting through your fears. And, sometimes I mentor people and sometimes they're like, I think they're half scared that they're going to say yes to the offer.
I think that's true for sure. I can tell you really quick that just in this year's goals, I want to work out 3 times a week. I started telling people that I'm going to do it, and I do that so that I'll do what I say. But I realized the other night as I went for my 3rd workout, and I said on my little short video, I hate to work out. Now that's the message that I've been telling myself for 25 years, and guess what? I don't work out, right? Like I was an athlete before that. I worked out all of the time, but for 20 years, I said I don't like to work out. I don't want to run. I don't want to lift. So I'm now in just like day one of reframing my mindset and saying, I love to work out. I feel better when I work out. I'm going to, I can't wait to work out. So this is real life stuff. We'll see if it sticks. I believe that it will, though, that messaging. I caught myself talking to Catherine where she's like, that's your problem. You're telling yourself you don't want to do something. So you're not going to do it. Right. So
it is.
Tony Robbins changed my mindset.
Right. Well, and here's another tip. I mean, you said it yourself, I was an athlete. What if you just put that in present tense? I am an athlete.
I'm an athlete. Yeah.
Right. Like, what if I believe that? Well, we stay very consistent with what we say we are, and so it's powerful stuff. It's really powerful stuff.
And I used to tell people, I use the telling people what I'm going to do ahead of doing it to motivate myself. And I've done that for years and years in business. I'm going to be a hotelier. I started telling people that as soon as I came to Puerto Rico. I'd never done it before. I just started saying it about myself. And the next thing you know, we've got a dozen hotel projects. So that stuff, absolutely, you can speak things into existence and it works.
It totally works. We could go down this rabbit hole where, yes, do I really feel like we are living in the Matrix? Yes, I actually do.
But sometimes I feel that way too.
Yeah, we'll wait and have a drink over that conversation. But I think what's important though is that you understand that the growth process, the process of wanting to change your income level is also internal as well as external. I think that's the point that I'm trying to get across. And for me, it was kind of a dramatic shift because I had this dramatic thing happen. And I think for a lot of people it is, like they finally get so uncomfortable in their current life that they're like, forget it.
What was your business before the accident? And then how did you make this shift to become who you are today and the leader of WREN, the Women's Real Estate Investors Network? what did that look like? If you can walk through.
Yeah, sure. So after university, I was really I really loved the music industry. I really loved music, and I ended up working for a record company. And I honed in my skills as a graphic artist, and then I left the record company and opened my own boutique design firm. So I had a boutique design firm that was specialized in album cover artwork, DVD artwork, books, all, kind of all those entertainment artworks. And I ran that business for, 20 years. And, the industry changed, like I used to like design these beautiful packages. Anybody out there old enough to remember like box sets and, liner notes and all these beautiful things. Yeah. And now you're like designing a graphic that's this big on iTunes, So, I jokingly say that, really the bulk of my industry went away, and I had the accident and I was like, okay, I need to educate. And honestly, I just started going to real estate clubs and educating, listening to podcasts, reading books. I really started just deep dive in that. And then I was also transitioning my mindset at the same time.
Yeah.
And then somebody told me to get an investment philosophy, and I'm sorry, I was born, I'm first generation American. Both my parents were, born out of this country, and we lived, very much a blue collar life. And I never heard the words I don't know what an investment philosophy is.
I was thinking investment strategy, and you're saying, well, what's that?
I did. I said, what's that?
That sounds like something rich people do, right?
Yeah, totally. And so I was like, okay, I need to learn what that is, but basically it's a plan, like you got to have a plan, right? Yeah. And I was interested in flipping, and I took a course in it. I got a mentor. One of the things Robin's taught me is you want to accelerate your learning. You want to accelerate yourself. You get a mentor. You be around the people that are doing what you want to do. Right. And I got a mentor. I borrowed some money from my brother, and I did a flip. And that first flip was crazy ass great. Oh, sorry. I just got
okay. We're okay. Curse all you.
It was crazy great. And like, I'm embarrassed and proud to say I made about 100,000 off the first flip, it was a blessing and it was a curse, because it was a blessing in the sense that I was like, dang, this is good. I was like, give me more of that. Like, I was hooked, right? And it was a curse because I thought every flip you should be doing that. And I was like, let me just tell you, full disclaimer, no, not every flip does that. Sometimes they do a lot less than that.
But, small world. So tomorrow we're going to put out a long content video with the Don, and we're going to talk about his first flip, his first couple. And on his first flip, we're going to make over $100,000. And I have literally had the conversation with him a couple of times where I'm like, Don, listen, you need to understand, this isn't the way that this goes. Like I did 300 deals before I ever made $20,000 on a flip. Right. So this is amazing and it's great, but don't let it become a curse. Right. Like,
absolutely.
Don't, because it's perfectly fine to make $5,000 or $10,000 on your first flip.
It is totally fine to make that. Right? Yeah. And, unfortunately, like what happened to me was I was like, oh, this is how much I'm supposed to be. And I ended up walking away from a lot of deals.
Yeah.
Because they didn't have that margin. And I was like, like I got ahead of myself. I'm just going to say it that way. Wow. And then my investment philosophy, I started an investment philosophy, and this is my investment philosophy. I got to make money. So I needed chunk money, and I wanted passive income, because that was the whole point. Like, I want to live this life of freedom. I want to live this life of travel. I need the passive income. I need the mailbox money. So, I think probably like a lot of beginning investors out there, you think, well, I want to buy a place around the corner so you can keep your eye on it, blah, 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 right? I live in LA. The numbers don't work here.
It's hard to have a passive income on a $2 million, $2.5 million house and not so good.
You can't. You just can't. I mean, even the median price houses, you just can't, And it became a reality to me that if I wanted to stay true to my investment philosophy and get that passive income, I was going to have to invest outside of California.
Wow. That
Yeah,
must be some courage, right? I mean, that's got to be a difficult thing to do.
right.
I moved to Puerto Rico so that I could be near my investments rather than try to do it from Florida, right? So I
Right.
admire that. That's great.
Well, and I got to tell you what happened that made me realize this. So I was at an investment club, and for anybody out there listening, go to investment clubs, meet investors, like all kinds of investors. They'll tell you what they're up to. It's such a great experience. I went to this investment club. I didn't have any passive income. I didn't own anything. And I was put in a group, and there was one guy that owned something in LA. He had inherited it. There was another guy that owned something in another state. And there was another guy that owned something in another country, South America. And
Wow.
he was like, it blew me away, right? It just blew me away. And I remember driving home that night and thinking, wow, how can these guys own these things so far away? And then I was like, it's all about risk, right? You have to assess what you feel is risky. You have to do, it's risk tolerance, right? And I was like, well, how do I mitigate that? How do I, make that a little more accessible to me? And for me, I was like, well, I think I need to really study the place. And real estate is a relationship business. I need to make relationships in these markets
Mm.
and be very conscious about making relationships. And so that's what I did. I actually went into the Memphis market. I evaluated markets. Memphis was a really great cash flowing market. It still is. It's a great cash flowing market. And I bought my first house. It took me, I'm going to say like a year and a half to buy my first house because I was fearful. I didn't know what I was doing. And
That's
you
after your $100,000 flip, or
that's after my $100,000 flip. I sat on it. I sat on the money. It was funding more flips here. I did another one, but I was like researching and trying to get into it. And I finally met this one investor at an investment club that said, I've seen you here for a year and you're not doing anything.
Mm.
Yeah. And he was
I've
great.
seen people like that before, Deborah. And I would ask the question, how do you get away from that? Analysis by paralysis, or analysis paralysis, the constant learner.
Right.
And
Okay, so Robert, you do this for people because I do this for people now because he did this for me. He said to me, I want to know a date that you're going to receive your first passive income check.
Oh my gosh. He was a
And I said, a date?
That's
what? But at the same time, I felt challenged. And I was like, okay. And okay, it'll take me this long to figure it out and close the deal and get a renter in. And okay, this is the date. And honestly, that date came and went for him. He had no idea what I said, but it didn't for me. I was like, I'm doing it. I did text him and say, I did it.
So that's what we advertised that we would talk about, is kind of like, how would you have the courage to go into new markets, right? So you did it, and you just explained how you did it. I think the guy who gave you that advice, I hope you're still in touch with him, but he was a gift from God, right? Like that is amazing encouragement. And now you do that for other people.
I do.
So cool.
Especially to see people swirling around, not doing it. And that's what I was doing, And we see that all the time because it takes a certain amount of courage to sit up through it. And listen to this, and anybody who out there who's swirling. And after I did my first one, I bought 3 more within the year.
Nice.
Because I understood the process now.
Nice.
Right? I stepped through it, and then I'm like, wait a minute, that wasn't so hard. Like I can do this.
Yeah.
And the belief, hello, we're stuck in mindset again. Yeah. And the belief that I could do it went into it.
The belief comes by doing, right? Like, so you did it, now you believe you can do it, or you believed you can do it, so you did it. Either one doesn't matter. You have that belief and it comes. It's great. I tell people all the time now to come with a different strategy, right? Like, so everybody wants to get into wholesaling and flipping, and I think it's a great, starter course. I kind of look at it as like you're learning to ride a bicycle and you've got training wheels on. You're a wholesaler and you're in business, and you can make a lot of money with that. But I tell people to, buy 3 properties and sell 2, keep 1, and fight like hell to keep that one, right? Like, just decide early on, right away, that you're going to keep things. I wish it was something that I had told myself when I was starting out. I'd be way further along than I am, but life is still good. I'm not complaining. No one should feel bad for me. It's just a lesson that I learned over the years, right? Once I started keeping real estate, uh, life changed, and it changes pretty quickly. Like, real estate's a long game, but hang on to a piece of property for 5 or 10 years. There's no better strategy than owning something for a long time.
Yeah, it's a marathon. It's the marathon.
Yeah.
It's not the sprint.
Yeah,
you
it's
know?
not a yeah.
And I think what goes into that is the persistence of it. I
Yeah.
mean, you have to just stay with it,
Yeah.
and there's education every time you turn around. And you've been in this a long time. I've been in this long time, and I'm still learning. By the way, I'm still learning.
You're learning, you're teaching. I mean, we have talked about what we learned from Deborah Razo ever since we first started in business with you. I mean, literally, Linda and myself and Dave were like, wow, why haven't we been having these meetings about individual properties so now, because of you, we have a meeting about every project every week.
Oh, wow.
Sometimes nothing happens, right? But it focuses you. It hyper focuses you. So I appreciate it. It's that has been a big takeaway, and that's why we like to partner with people so much. That's why we want to be involved with like-minded people who have a slightly different skill set and come about it and look at it differently, so that we can take what works well for you and do it right. So
well, here, I'll give you a little thing that worked well for me and for everybody out there. And this was about a learning curve. People thought I was crazy, and I probably am a little, but every house that I bought in Memphis, I put a different property manager on. Now, why did I do that? I didn't know how to manage a manager. And I thought, well, what better way to learn if I've got different ones doing different things? Like, every manager's contract is different. The way they manage is different, and I really dedicated myself to making relationships over the phone. And when they say this is a relationship business, it is. And I coined this phrase, I give good phone, because I would get on the phone with these managers and I would be like, how was your son's graduation? What's going on? That, you're building a relationship. And they have the power to, fill your project with, great income producing people, giving you the right turnaround times when you have to rent ready, and each of them operated a different way. And I learned what I liked, what I didn't like. I learned a lot about managing a manager from a distance.
Yeah.
I needed to, I felt that was a good learning experience for me. So,
well, I think that's excellent advice for anybody who's out there who's starting. And just by trying these different managers, you can learn what works over a period of time and build your strategy around that too, right?
And who's good at what?
Good from this guy, and try and put those things together and have the best product that you can possibly have. It's amazing.
Right. So that's what I did. During that time when I was starting to build my portfolio, the hedge funds started coming into California, and it became really hard for me to secure a flip. They were buying up everything. And to be honest with you, this business is a head game. And I was getting rejected at every corner. And I was just like, I am tired. I was kind of at a point where I'm like, where am I need to surround myself with my girls. And believe it or not, that's how the Women's Real Estate Network.
That was my next question, is can you tell us how you started WREN?
Yeah. I wanted to surround myself with, people that I know, like, and trust. And there were a handful of women who were in the LA, real estate scene. And I asked them to brunch. And so a bunch of us got together for brunch. Now, they're not all flippers. There's 2 women, they own like 18 storage units. There's note, investors. There's hard money lenders. They're all different areas of real estate. But we got together and we started talking, and somebody needed a referral for an attorney. Oh, I've got an attorney. Somebody needed a foundation guy. I've got a foundation guy. It was just very like, oh, together we can share resources and do this. And honestly, at the end of that meeting, I said, you guys want to get together, like say every other month, every quarter? And they were like, no, every other month. And people opened up their homes and there was usually wine involved. And honestly, that group I became financial friends with. And what I mean by that is that we invested with each other. We JV'd together. There was a synergy there. And
Right.
I got to see these other women that were really doing things in the industry. And then I realized there's all these other women out there that didn't get to see that. So I started a meetup, and I used these women as my first presenters and said, get up there and talk about your business model. And then let's talk about reality, like how you juggle being a wife, being a mother, being a daughter, the dog, whatever you want to talk about. And that was the beginning of WREN. And so
how long ago was that you started?
That was about 5 years ago, 6 years ago, probably close to 6 years ago. And, it was pre-COVID, and women started contacting me and wanting to open up chapters all over the US. So we opened about 11 chapters up all over the US. And then
I didn't know that. I thought this was just a California thing, or maybe a West Coast thing, but not all over the US. That's amazing.
Yeah. So
start from a brunch 7 years ago. How many people are members of WREN at this point in time? How many chapters do you have, and how many young ladies are killing it in real estate?
Right. So we have during COVID, we went all online. So that's changed our business model. Prior to COVID, we had annual events where we had anywhere between 200 and 300 women come out to our annual events and put on a weekend event just of women investors.
That's not a small event for anybody who has never put on an event before, guys. 200 or 300 people at an event, that's impressive.
It's a lot. It's a lot of work, but we went online, and we're still kind of in between online and in person. We don't have our chapter leaders, because there was nothing to lead during COVID. So we all went online. We reach, I think through Meetup, we reach about 7,500 women.
Wow.
And we have, then that wheedles down to our list, and that wheedles down to our membership. And, our membership is a bunch of dedicated women, that want to do deals together or want, it's just, as an investor, it's nice having somebody that you can call and go, I can't see the answer to this. Can you see an answer to this?
Yeah.
Or just,
that's really important.
It just says, it'll come to you. Like, even if they don't have the answer.
They're not there. So if we had a group of guys, they'd call, and the guy would go, well, you should do this.
Right. And so it just started to flourish, and now we're in transition, and we're doing smaller events in different places. In fact, we have an event in Puerto Rico. In fact, that's why I came to Puerto Rico. Because
that actually was the very first time I don't know if it was the first time you ever came, but we met through your WREN coming on a bus tour. Back then, it was called the bus tour of Puerto Rico, and we went around and looked at some projects, and then we ended up becoming partners. And now you put this event on the PR Mastermind. This is your second or third time.
Second as the PR Mastermind. It's our fourth bus tour. And
the second PR Mastermind, which, guys, if you have a chance, drop whatever you're doing and come to Puerto Rico on the 23rd or come on the 22nd, stay through like the 26th, but come to this event. It is just an absolute ton of value. I've been to lots of events. I've been to Anthony Robbins. I've never seen a group of 45 people more engaged for 3 solid days than at your last mastermind, Deborah. It was really spectacular, and I know this one's going to even top that. So
it's really good. We had a great synergy at our last mastermind, and I'm sure it'll be the same this time. And I mean, here's the thing. Puerto Rico is offering some really great things. Has a lot of great things to offer in their market when so many of the markets in the continental U.S. are experiencing downturns.
Yeah.
And one of the things that caught my eye in Puerto Rico was that it seemed to be on the upturn. And I think a lot of that is because the government is behind so many tax incentives and the opportunity zones. But that's a smart, as an investor, we're looking for places that we have that upturn. We're looking at path of progress. We're looking at those types of opportunities. And Puerto Rico is one of them. It's just a really great opportunity for, money making.
It is really a wonderful opportunity. And obviously, I'm completely bullish and all in on Puerto Rico. I moved my family, my business. This is where we are investing our time and our money. And it has been phenomenal. We've been here almost 5 years, and it has just been, I really feel like it was a God thing that he put me here. So I'm blessed to be here. And I have a little story that will give.
I want to hear how you got to Puerto Rico, because you know what? I don't even know that.
Oh, okay. Well, I can tell that story really quick. Let me finish my thought because I'll forget. But today, unsolicited, I got an offer on a property that I've been working on for a while. We've got about $500,000 in it, and I got offered unsolicited from a fund from New York, $1.1 million. This property's not for sale, and I wasn't planning to sell it. But what do you do with something like that? That's the kind of market we're in, though, right? Like, I get this email out of the blue, and I'm looking at it going, this can't be real. And I call him, and I know the broker who's trying to put it together, and it seems like it could be real. It seems, so that's the kind of thing. Like, there hasn't been hedge funds in Puerto Rico in over a decade, right? Like 12, 13 years ago, maybe before the big correction, there were hedge funds and things like that. But I'm not even sure then. But it's nothing like Florida. Like in Florida, that would be nothing to talk to a hedge fund, and they might want to buy something. But real quick, how I came to Puerto Rico, it's not dissimilar to your story. I was looking for a new market. My money wasn't going very far in Central Florida. The market had become really, really good. Like, it was an extreme seller's market, which that's bad for a real estate investor like me. And I had for 17, 18 years in a row done between like 100 and 125 flips, and bought some things to keep along the way as well, right? And 2015 it was down to like 80. 2016 it was down to like 72, and then 2017 I was like at less than 60 deals for the year. So I'm like, my business is off by half. And the best case scenario, which used to be a nice 60 to 100% return, has turned into a 20% return if everything goes well for me. And so I had money on the sidelines that I couldn't deploy, and I was just looking for a real estate market to go to. And I was in between going to like Chicago or Indianapolis or Puerto Rico. And then Maria happened, and that pretty much, as soon as Maria happened, I sort of knew where I was going, because I am from Florida and we've been through a hurricane cycle several times. We've always profited from that. And there's a cycle that takes about 5 years, which we're just finishing up. And then we had another hurricane here. So I think we're going to enter a super cycle of hurricanes. So whenever anybody asks, what do you do if a hurricane comes? I'm like, I buy more real estate, baby. That's like, there's opportunity there, right? So yeah, people are leaving the island after Maria. I was the only crazy guy flying to the island, and I just got there at the right time. And I still think it's the right time to be in Puerto Rico, because Puerto Rico it turned out, once I landed, I realized that it wasn't this hurricane distress. It was a generational distress, and they had been in a recession or depression. Basically, they had not ever come out of the banking correction from 2008. Mm-hmm. So, this is 2018 when I first got here. It's 10 years. It's been a whole decade. And I thought that I knew what was going to happen. And so I had been telling myself I was looking for a 2012 market, and that if I found it, I'd go all in. And so when I landed here, I told Dave, I said, Dave, this is what we've been looking for, and now we need to go all in. And we did. We came with $1 million, and I don't even know what the number's up to now, but we have lots and lots of money deployed on the island at this point. Really, everything that we had. And then we were screaming it from the rooftops to invite people to come with us and to partner with us. And we still do on this YouTube channel. We are expanding through partnerships. So that's a true statement when I say it every single time. And so we've been really fortunate that God put us here in the right place at the right time. And it's still early on. So if you're watching this, come to Puerto Rico. Come check out this mastermind that these guys
Absolutely.
put on. It's going to be amazing.
Yeah, absolutely. And and I think that's something that I had to learn over the years. Back when I was starting this business and having had that entrepreneurial background, I was kind of a lone wolf and didn't do that much partnering.
Yeah.
And I think it was something that I actually got into a situation where, I was buying those single families in Memphis, and my debt to income ratio couldn't go any farther. And I wasn't at my freedom number yet. And I was like, well, wait, now what am I going to do? And every time I turned around, my mentors, the investors were like, you got a partner, you got to, do something different.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, okay. And then I started partnering and doing more deals. Right. And, getting financial partners, getting credit partners, partnering in all different kinds of ways, learning the ins and outs of partnership, because I think you could sit and talk about that for quite some time.
Like, you've really stepped it up too, right? Like, so you're investing in some pretty big projects that you're truly passive on. So sometimes I think you're running the show, and I think in other times you're just maybe bringing capital and stuff like that. You want to talk about that, how that's kind of evolved from doing flips, buying single families in Memphis, to buying fairly large multifamily properties across the US, right?
Right. Yeah. And also realizing, I think I bought my first duplex in Memphis, and realizing that when one person moves out, you're not completely down on the money, one roof covering multiple units. Okay. I'm getting a different view now. And I started being interested in multifamily, and I started going to courses and learning about it. And I actually passively invest as a limited partner in a couple different investments, because I wanted to learn, right? And that was part of my making money and part of my outcome. The outcome is passive income coming in, right? And during that journey within REN, I met a woman who was blossoming. In fact, when I first met her, I think she was self-managing her 16 unit up in Seattle. And now I think she manages about, I don't know, 630 million in apartments. Like,
wow.
She has blossomed over the past 6 years. And we ended up partnering. And so that I became part of the general partnership in a few of the apartment complexes. And, it's gradual, it's over time. Like we talked earlier, it's a marathon, right? Yeah. I mean, I wouldn't have had the knowledge or the guts, to be honest with you, to do that in the beginning.
Yeah.
I increased my skills as a flipper, and then I went into development, right? So we bought single families that were zoned multis, and we knocked them down and put fourplexes on them. And I wouldn't have done that. I wouldn't have barged into that if I hadn't had the background that I had in just flipping things, right? So it's just been a gradual education, escalation, of my skills. And then I came to Puerto Rico because I wanted a vacation.
Really? How did you first hear about that first bus tour?
Yeah. So Catherine Morea, who is our mutual friend and partner, she's runs Rio Rico. She was a really good friend of mine here in Los Angeles, and she was part of the Women's Real Estate Network. But we had never worked together. I mean, I'm a flipper. She runs, short-term rentals.
Doing Airbnb stuff.
Yeah, we are, our paths never met to work together before. Yeah. But, she came to a point where she realized Puerto Rico was it for her. And she just dropped the mic. She sold her properties and moved to Puerto Rico. And I knew her on this path, and I raised my hand like I do when other people are going places I want to be. And I'm like, can I come visit?
And I think part of her story, she didn't come here thinking she was going to invest in real estate either. She came here for other lifestyle reasons. And
yeah.
When she was here, she couldn't deny the opportunity. And I like to think I'm a part of that, because I kind of pressured her into starting a club, and I try to promote her. And her Rio Rico is one of the best things that people can plug into on the island here. It's really just a collaborative amazing group. And you told people earlier, go join these groups. So anybody who's watching this who hasn't been out to the Rio Rico, they meet the last Thursday of the month, and I think it's $20 or something, guys. I don't know it. It's nothing, but it's just, again, so much value. There's a dynamic speaker every month. So come to that too. And Don, let's try and put links to these things, the mastermind and to the Rio Rico. And actually, your mastermind's going to end with Rio Rico, right? Like maybe it's the next night. So maybe we can get everybody out who's watching this.
Absolutely.
Mastermind, but you're here on the island, at least come to the Rio Rico at the end of it. So
yeah. So I raised my hand and I said, I'd like to come once you're settled, blah, 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 and it just so happened my husband and I were having an anniversary. I was like, what do you want to do? Let's go to Puerto Rico, So I came for 2 weeks. He came for a week. He left and I stayed and I went on the bus tour. I met you. I met other investors. And honestly, what I saw was the opportunity.
Yeah.
I just saw the opportunity. And for, those of you that are numbers people, I'm a numbers girl. And I started really listening to the numbers that were happening in Puerto Rico. And I'm like, wow, this market is a good market. Not to mention when you're there and you see it and you're like, oh, here you've got a rainforest and, effervescent bays and beautiful tropical island and warm waters. And yet it's not this tourist machine yet, right? Like you see the gap and you think opportunity, and between that and the tax incentives, I was sold. I was like, I need to look at this. I need to really see what's happening there and how to best hone in on that.
Yeah, I may not be the smartest guy in the room, but I can see that when the island is saying that they want to take the GDP from 6% to 15%, that's more than double. And then they want to give you 40% of your investment back through this thing called Act 60. I don't have to be the brightest guy in the room to figure out that that's pretty damn good. And then, oh, by the way, you can buy things at really good values too, right? So it's just, I just haven't seen anything in the time that I've been here that's better. So I'm not leaving anytime soon. And I still think it's very early in this. Like I just said a minute ago, for the first time, I'm seeing a hedge fund come to the island and start making offers on stuff. That's a game changer when that money comes. I think so. It's early on. Come to this mastermind.
Yeah, and I mean, for investors especially who are in markets that have decreased. I mean, there's a lot of like that. The quickly accelerating markets, Austin, Las Vegas, they've really decelerated very quickly as well, and here is another market who is accelerating still. And, I'm often asked like, how do you get into a market that you don't know anything about? And, isn't it scary? And how do you manage? And isn't that another country? And for those answers, it's like, no, it's not another country. You don't require a passport to go there. We're on the, US dollar, and there's Home Depot and IKEA, so I can work.
That's right. We have internet, paved roads. I mean,
right. But the fact of the matter is, it's education. So, you've got to mitigate the risk and you've got to figure out what's best for you. And I do business in different states, right? Because you heard in the beginning, I can't make passive income in California. For a little while, I was a landlord here, and I decided no more of that for a lot of reasons. And I have to go outside of my comfort zone and my territory to be able to make really good passive income. And whether you're in Memphis and dealing with cultural whatever's going on in Memphis, and whether you're in Puerto Rico and dealing with cultural whatever's going on in Puerto Rico, you're still dealing with it. Different states are different states. That's all there is to it.
Yep.
So it became a viable opportunity. And then thankfully you got this really good deal for us.
Well, and hopefully we'll do more. And we just had an event a week ago where we got through cultural. And so that was really exciting today. And
for those of you that don't know what that means, is that we can go forward with our permits.
We're allowed to work now, right? So it's like,
lots of work.
I think the whole room went, oh my God.
Yeah, but for any of you that are out there, you're like me, and I'm sorry, I'm heading to Puerto Rico this month, and dang it, I've got to spend a couple weeks in a beautiful tropical island working. Not a
So,
bad
so
life.
Deb, tell us about your event and who's gonna be there. Who would it benefit? Who are some of your speakers, maybe? And yeah, just fill us in a little bit about what's going to happen.
Sure. It's really a 4-day event, and day one is really an overview. It's about what is Puerto Rico about, and we get an overview of Puerto Rico's economics. We get an overview of some of their tax incentives, whether it is about moving to the island or whether it's investing in tourism, tax incentives here. Just a brief overview. It's a lot of information, and so we try to capsize it in a brief overview while we're in the penthouse overlooking the ocean in a hotel in Condado. And then day two, we like put on our running shoes and we get in a bus and we go walk properties. We walk single family homes, we walk commercial properties, we talk to the sponsors that are actually working those properties. We get to hear the stories. I love stories about properties. Like, I want to know, how did you find it? What did you pay for it? How much are you investing in it? What are your projections? Like, you get all that information directly from the sponsor as you're walking the property. It's really a great opportunity, not only to just get your feet on the ground and understand what Puerto Rico is about, but also, you're networking with all these people that are already doing deals on the property. So it's really great. And then day three is like a really deep dive plunge. So Ashley Tyson is going to be there for us, and he's going to do a deep dive into opportunity zones, really get an understanding of them. They're kind of complicated. I'll be honest with you. The first time I saw Ashley, I think half of what he said went over my head. I'm still like keeping up with Ashley is like, woo, okay, I understand parts of it now much better, and I'm still learning. He's a wealth of information. Adam is going to be here. I've forgotten Adam's last name. Help me out, Robbie.
Adam
Yes, Grimfader.
Why Puerto Rico? He's just written a book, which is a really, really good read.
Right.
And anybody who ever gets the chance to listen to Adam Greenfader tell you why Puerto Rico, be careful, because you're moving to Puerto Rico.
Yeah. I haven't had a chance to read the book yet, but he was fascinating last time we had this event.
Yeah, he started your event last time and just set the bar so high. It was amazing.
Incredible. Yeah. And then day 4, we have some time open in the day, and then we all go to Rio Rico that evening and we network with investors that are there on the island. And so it's a really good balance of a lot of head stuff, some walking property stuff, and then some networking. I mean, it's all about getting to know the people that are doing business here, how people do business, what kind of returns they're making, where the opportunities are, really. So if anybody's interested, you go to renpuertorico.com and you can look at the landing page. It's not too late. We've got 2 weeks left. We've only got a few open spots. We have a limited amount of seating on the bus. So if you're interested in going, go and register now, because we don't have that many seats left.
And we'll put the link in somewhere as this kind of thing goes from a live into something that's forever content, hopefully. Yeah. I would add this. So if you have no interest in Puerto Rico whatsoever, and you haven't started learning about opportunity zones and opportunity zone investing, if that was all you came for, it's well worth the trip. You will not leave disappointed. I promise, guys. This Ashley Tyson, who she's talking about, is the Aussie Sherpa. He's the guy. He knows how to take you through what this means. And guys, if you follow the channel much, you know that I say that investing in opportunity zones in Puerto Rico, which is 98% of the island, is an opportunity zone, and tying that to a hospitality play is just what we believe is the best, greatest way to invest, hands down, period. I haven't seen anything else that's even coming close, right? So if you come and learn just about opportunity zones, which are in every state, you will leave happy. If that's the only reason you come is to learn about these opportunity zones and how to invest in them, it's the greatest wealth builder that the government has blessed us with of our lifetimes, guys. This is just, it's brand new stuff. Most people have no idea what we're talking about, and even us who know about it, we have really only scratched the surface on what it's going to mean and how powerful it's going to be. 10, 15, 20, 30 years down the road, but it's going to create wealth like never before.
I heard a great comment of one of the participants there, who started investing in the island, and it was interesting. I heard two comments I'd like to tell you about. One of them had already been investing on the island, was a seasoned investor. And after one of the speakers spoke, he goes, "Oh my gosh, I think that woman just saved me $1 million." Right? Like, there were tips there that he needed as a sophisticated investor to know. And on the flip side of that, we had a few people there that were novice investors, right? And they got so much value out of it. Not only was it, great information, especially for the novice investor, learning how to look at things, understanding the numbers of things, but the networking, right? Because you're really immersing yourself in a group of investors who really do know what they're doing and talking about, and understanding the benefits and the pitfalls in what you're doing. I mean, those are great mentors, right? That's why Robbie's such a good mentor to everybody on the island, right? Because he understands the benefits and the pitfalls and how to navigate that, right? And that's what you want. You want to.
Yeah, and it really is a dynamic group that you guys bring to the island. And I think there'll be some people that return, and there'll be lots of new people, but there will be heavy hitters, right? Like at the last one, there were people who had just sold something that made $100 million. There were other people that were starting a fund. And then there were people that were, like you said, buying their first apartment to put on Airbnb, or buying their first flip. So you had this wide range of dynamic personalities and people that are just going out and doing stuff, right? Like it's a great time. I can't more, really.
And the abundance mentality too. The abundance mentality. Everybody come make money together. I mean, it's very collaborative, and I think that's very heartwarming for me. Like, the different markets foster different mentalities. This market is very welcoming.
Yeah, that was a new thing for me too. I mean, so coming from Florida, where we had frenemies or people that were in the same business that we would go to lunch with, but we weren't telling our trade secrets to, right? And we weren't collaborating much. Then you get to Puerto Rico, and fast forward 5 years, and anybody who ever meets me, I say, "Hey, would you like to partner on a deal?" It's like it's Puerto Rico that did that to me. That wasn't who I was 5 years ago. Right. That's who the island, and I think part of it is just the amount of talent that's here on the island, and through the acts and things like that. There are some really sophisticated, smart people that have come to Puerto Rico because they're able to save, most of their money that they were paying in taxes, especially like if you're in California and you make the move from California to Puerto Rico, you can give yourself like a 55% raise or something like that. It's crazy good.
It is crazy. I want to touch on that for a second, because I think that some people don't realize, like, Puerto Rico is considered kind of a tax haven. Yeah. And, if you become a resident of Puerto Rico, like, by the way, many of the ultra wealthy have, there's an area of Puerto Rico that has grown tremendously because the ultra wealthy have bought there, and and they are saving tons of money on their taxes now. Mm-hmm. But that in itself fosters a change in the environment, right? So there's this wealth coming to Puerto Rico that changes the locality. Okay, so now there's more storefronts in that area. Now there's more growth in that area. It's changing the local dynamic in that area, all for the better. It's providing more, and it's providing better for all the people, providing more jobs, providing all that stuff. So you have to really look at the environmental and the economic change that's happening there, and really kind of like go, okay, is this going to continue, and how will this continue, and what if this continues, and if the growth continues, how does that affect some of the investing I want to do, right?
Yeah, that's right. And there is sometimes pushback, like with anything with gentrification, and like you said it best, like you're going to have that in Tennessee, you're going to have that in California, and you're going to have this kind of sentiment from a loud few in Puerto Rico. But
well, I get that as a Californian all the time. We're not really welcome anywhere, to be honest with you.
That is so funny. Yeah.
I step into the Memphis market. I still have my single families there, or the Texas market, and it's like, oh, she's Californian.
We think in Florida, like, everybody's welcome, but don't try and turn us into California.
Right? See, we have such a bad reputation.
California for a reason. Don't bring your bad ways with you.
Yeah, don't bring your Californianess here.
I'm from California as well, guys. So right. I saw it early on, though. I got us out of there. I was about 6 weeks old, and I said, "Dad, we got to leave here. The taxes are going to just be incredible." So.
Early bloomer.
So, listen, we've been going for about an hour, and that's a great time, but it's going really well. And I always like to give an opportunity for my guests to hit us with more knowledge. I mean, you really are a fountain of knowledge. Okay. Here is a question, actually. How difficult is money to flip in Puerto Rico and borrowing options? That's awesome. That's a great question. I'll take a stab, and then Deb, you can answer this with me, I think, because you are an expert at raising money. So I'll go first, maybe, and then you jump in. Everything's more difficult in Puerto Rico. That's what I tell people. And getting money to the island for me, when I first came to the island, it was very difficult because people were, like Deb said earlier, thinking that I'm in a different country, and thinking that it's not safe. It's not the United States of America. So getting over those hurdles were hard. Banking here is extremely difficult. And so until very recently, there wasn't a lot of liquidity on the island. So that just started to change. And then the United States goes into this, whatever it's going into, and it's backing up a little bit. But as liquidity comes, we're going to continue to see things rise in value. And Deb, you and I have done a project or two, or anyways, you've done a great job of bringing money to the island. So what has your experience been about getting money to the island?
Yeah, my experience is about getting money anywhere, to be honest with you. And
Okay.
I think it was something that I learned along the way. And as a mentor, it's something that I hear all the time. Well, that's great for you. I don't have the money. That's like the number one thing I hear, or, I just don't have the money to do that. And I say, well, what if you did? Right? Because I think it takes a mind shift to go, but there's other people that have money that want to invest, and you could bring them, and you can offer this investment to them. And it's not, it's not about going out and chasing money. It's about establishing relationships, financial friendships over a deal and an investment, and taking part of that together. So, the difficulty might be, only in your networking. Not in the amount of money you want to raise, because you can raise a lot of money with friends and family and other people that want to earn more than the 1% that they're earning in their bank accounts right now.
Right.
It's crazy.
They want passive income. You talked about a lot.
Yeah. And I mean, borrowing options are always changing on the island. I think Robert and I have both experienced that. I think they're starting to establish more and more borrowing options, but it's slow coming, but I believe Robbie is, actually a money source on the island. I know, Robbie and I have talked about, being a money source on the island too, because we do believe that, things are going to pan out here. So turn around and look at who's around you and ask. I mean, sometimes I think the hardest part is in the ask. Hey, I've got a deal. What do you think about this? Would you be willing to invest with me? Yeah. And that's how it is.
I just recently put a short out there where I commented on something Jerry Norton was talking about. Is it best to have the deal first, or the money first, or the cash buyers first? And my opinion has never changed on this. I always believe that money finds the deal. Money's always the easiest part, even in Puerto Rico where it's more difficult. Right. If you've got a great deal and you think you've got a great deal and no one will give you money for it, you need to rethink your deal. It's probably not a good deal, because money finds the deal. It just is, right? Like, that is the way that the world works.
But you got to shout the deal. You got to tell the deal about everybody. Everybody you meet, you have to tell the deal to.
Yeah. It's a difficult mindset too. And yesterday I was at brunch and was with a very successful investor, and her daughter was talking about buying a house, and she was saying things like, well, Mom, I don't have the kind of money you have. Mom, I don't have the kind of job you have. Mom, I don't. And I said, this money thing that you keep putting out there about why you can't buy real estate is a myth. And I don't care where you're at. And we were talking about Charlotte, North Carolina at the time. And I said, there is a way for you to buy that $500,000 house and never have a dime. You just have to find the right deal and partner with someone who's got the money. So I love the question, because money is obviously something that most people hear their entire lives, that, you know, you need to be born with a silver spoon in your mouth, or you have to have some privilege. Real estate solves all of that. It's incredibly easy to get money for good deals. It can be incredibly hard to get money for bad deals, right? Like, so people who have money aren't going to just give you money for you to lose it in your bad deal, if you're a bad operator or you have a bad deal. But if you can make someone money once, you can go back to them again and again and again. So I love it. I think we had another question. Adon, can you put it back up? Let's see.
Oh, thank you. That's nice.
Carlos coming. All right. Love it. That's amazing.
Oh, cool. Thank you.
Well, thank you for the question.
You over there. Great. We're going to see you over there.
Yeah. Nice. Very nice. So back to what I was saying before, inspire us, give us some truth, some tidbit of knowledge that you'll knock our socks off. I know you will.
Oh gosh, thank you. No pressure.
I believe in you, Deborah.
Okay, I'll give you a little piece of personal advice. And
Nice.
This is when I was starting out, and honestly, you know, I was one of those people where I thought, oh, well, if I put an offer in, they might accept it, and that scares me. So I was hesitant to put offers in. And then I heard this quote by one of my mentors, Tony Robbins, and it says, the more uncertainty that you can tolerate in your life, that you can embrace in your life, the more successful you'll be. And that's just not monetary success. This is also, you know, emotional success, you know, relationships. This is also, it's an all-encompassing success, because you have to be willing to be in the uncertainty of things. And I theme my years, and I usually pick a word, and I usually pick a quote. And so one year I picked uncertainty as my word, and I picked that quote as my quote. Wow, what a year that was. So when I was faced with a choice, I went with the most uncertain one.
Wow.
You want to talk about growth, right? Like, it just really got me out of my comfort zone. But what it did, it built my faith muscle. And my faith muscle was my ability to problem solve. You know, we're entrepreneurs. You need to know that you're going to be a problem solver. I jokingly say that my phone doesn't ring unless there's a problem on the other line, because I'll tell you something, when everything's going right, no one calls me. No one. And I'm like, okay, I'm going to just step out. I'm going to step out and step into the discomfort of doing this. That year was so amazing that I repeated it this next year.
You used the same?
Yeah, it was just the same verse and the same word, because it was just like, you know what? I need to like really step out. I need to really grow. I'm not going to do it unless I do it this way. And that's what I did. And it really put me into some uncomfortable positions and some uncomfortable things. And I grew and I learned and I built my muscle that said, hey, you know what? You can figure this out. Right. Yeah. And that muscle that, you know, like, if I don't know the answer, I can find somebody who knows the answer. Right. Like, if, you know, half the time I don't know some of the terms that are being expressed to me. And you know what? Check my ego to the side. What is it that you're saying? I don't understand that. So, you know, that is my piece. This is my tidbit, you know, like, step out into the uncomfortableness of things, you know, and learn and grow.
Yeah. I love that. I think that's great advice. I call it chaos investing. That would be years ago. I decided that I thrive in the chaos. And so I would put myself routinely and I would tell people that I want the hard stuff. If it's got a title problem, if it had a fire, if they're going through a divorce, if someone died, you know, I want the people who are in foreclosure. Those were the places where I could use my problem solving ability and help people and profit. So those are always great. So we're getting another question. How are we sourcing deals? Is it networking? Is it agents? Is it marketing? So for me, it's all of those except for maybe marketing. I've never been one that paid marketing to find deals, but I think there's nothing wrong with that. It's just not. I've always found my deals through networking, through real estate agents, and through actually just. I think if you called me up and said, "Do you want to go look at?" I'm saying yes before I even know what the hell it is that you're at. If you're asking me to go look at real estate, unless there's something going on that I can't do it, I'm always going to say yes. And so. That's how I'm sourcing deals, especially in Puerto Rico. I came to the island, and I've told this story before, and I called up, I think it was 10 or 12 real estate agents and asked them to bring me deals. And then once I got to the point where I thought I had some deals, I asked the 12, will you put your money where your mouth is and then go into this investment with me? And 6 of them said yes, and 6 of them said no. I do business with the 6 that said yes. I've done, I would say, a dozen deals or more with each of the 6. So that was the way when I first came to the island, to give myself some certainty in chaos where, the lights weren't even on and I had no idea what things were worth. But what I was pretty certain of was that someone who was a professional, if they were willing to put even a little bit of money in and go in with me, that I had a pretty good chance of making money. And that worked out really, really well. So, and networking has been the other thing. I mean, we tell everyone that we meet, we'd love to partner with people, so bring us deals. We run a deal makers breakfast every Saturday at 7:30 in the morning of the year, right? So if you're on the island in Puerto Rico and you want something to do really early on a Saturday morning, we're going to be eating breakfast and talking about real estate deals.
I love the Deal Makers Breakfast. I can't wait to come and be at the Deal Makers Breakfast. It's so much fun. It's great. It's an amazing community. Anybody who's on the island definitely should come to the Deal Makers Breakfast and network. It's great.
And we're doing deals together there. Like I hear someone comes and says they have a deal, and I know that someone else wants that kind of deal, and I kind of play matchmaker, and I say, hey, you should talk to him, or you should talk to her, and you guys should do something together. And so what have you ever spent money on marketing to
I haven't. My marketing is like you're looking at my marketing right now. I do live YouTubes, and I have the club, and the club, with the Women's Real Estate Network, it sources a lot of my deals, it sources a lot of my money. It's a lot of networking. To be honest with you, I started out as a very awkward networker. I was kind of a wallflower. It took me a while to, just get out there and talk to people. I'm not bad, one-on-one, but when it gets in bigger groups, I get a little nervous, whatever. Anyway, so and so if you feel like you're a little bit of a shyer person, I'm not shy, so to speak. I don't know. Anyway, I thought networking was kind of like a sales job. Right. And I don't feel like comfortable in a sales job, but I do feel comfortable meeting people. And when I just got over myself and was like, just meet people and find out what they're doing and talk to them, it started to really flow for me. So yeah, networking is definitely, in fact, I'm still a little crazy, as you might have known from this interview, but I just got into another, couple flips here in LA just because they were really great deals and my network brought them to me. And I was like, I couldn't resist them. And so here we go, it's full circle now. It's full circle.
That is absolutely amazing. So that's great.
Anyway. Yeah.
Well, so if anyone has any more questions here, we would love to answer them. And I think we could go for a little while longer, or we could end it and say goodnight. But someone's looking for apartment building in PR with owner financing. I have some. So Richard.
All you had to do was ask for it, Richard, and there you got it.
I have some small apartment buildings, nothing too terribly big, but I have a 4-unit, and I love to sell with seller financing. So in fact, I think I sold one today with some seller financing. So I've got a couple more. And Richard, if you email me at prconsultant77@gmail.com, we can connect and we'll go look at some stuff.
I love when that happens.
Oh, and Ron is saying reach out at the flipflopflipper at Gmail, the flipflopflipperpr@gmail.com. That's our brand new email, guys. And so that's our preferred way for you to email us right now. So we're rebranding. We're rebranding as the Flip Flop Flipper PR. So
I love that.
I'd love for you guys to leave me some comments and tell me what you think of the name. It's a little bit long, but I think it describes who I am. I wear flip-flops 350 days of the year, and I like to do real estate deals. So
there we go. There we go. Well, it's been wonderful being on this show with you. And
yeah, thank you. And I would
come to the island.
You know, maybe after or while at the end of the mastermind, maybe we could do a recap or something like that.
Sounds great.
Might not have to go for an hour and 10 minutes, but it was cool. I would just love to. I always love talking to you. So
I love it too. I can't wait to see you. It's going to be great to have the team together.
Yeah, that's exciting. So when are you coming? You're going to be here in a week?
I'll be there on the 19th. I think I'm flying out on the 19th. So
okay.
Yeah, I'll be there then. I can't wait until California gets a direct flight to Puerto Rico. Anybody out there? I need a direct flight. Anybody work for the airlines?
We need a big plane.
Oh, that's it. I'm not thinking right. I need my own plane.
That's right. That's the only thing that I think of. It's funny. The only thing that I really would like to have in life as I get older and older is to fly private. I'm a big guy, so I've been flying first class when I'm going anytime over like 3 hours for a long time. But that seems, I'm willing to pay for comfort, and that I can't afford it, but I'll put it out there that I would like to do that. So you need to help me grow into that.
Yeah, we'll grow together. Let's grow together.
Well, thank you guys so much for watching and joining, and thank you guys for your questions. I hope you had as much fun with this and got a lot out of that. We do this every Monday now, or at least that's the plan moving forward for the immediate future. And we're just glad to have you guys be a part of our community, and we'd love for you to hit the subscribe button. Let's do a deal together. Come to Puerto Rico, come to the mastermind group, come to the Rio Rico. We are here. Reach out to me at the flipflopflipperpr@gmail.com. And Deb will put your contact information in the links below as well, so people can reach out to you.
Sounds great.
Let's do something great together, guys. Deb, thanks again. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Bye now.
Bye-bye, guys.